It's one thing when Black people aren't discussed in world history, but when, and even in the imaginary future, a space where the mind can stretch beyond the Milky Way to envision routine space travel, cuddly space animals, talking apes and time machines, people can't fathom a person of non-Euro descent 100 years into the future. A cosmic foot has to be put down.
Good afternoon. I'd give that a B+. Good afternoon. Thank you. I'm Brother Zachary. I'm the chaplain for pastoral care here at the Community Church of New York. I am joined by our worship associate, Dr. Yvonne Garrett, and our director of music, Mr. Darnell White, as well as our lovely children and youth staff and Matt Pod, who's joining us. It's a very exciting full group. All right, we can clap. The Community Church is a multi-generational, multicultural, multiracial congregation in the heart of New York City, and all are very welcome here. Today, our topic is Space to Dream, and our call to worship will be repeat after me style. Are you ready? Listen more often to things than to beings. 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 'Tis the ancestors' breath when the fire's voice is heard. 'Tis the ancestors' breath when the fire's voice is heard. 'Tis the ancestors' breath in the voice of the water. 'Tis the ancestors' breath in the voice of the water. Our opening hymn will be Breaths, number 1001, found in your teal hymnal. Now you know some of the words, so you have no excuse not to sing it loudly. We sang it last week, so you've got no excuse not to sing it loudly. Please rise in body or in spirit and sing with me, Breaths.
The voice of the water.
We light this chalice, the flame of our heritage. May it ignite hope in our lives, in the community, and in the world. I invite you now to join with me in our unison affirmation. Unto the Church Universal, which is the depository of all ancient wisdom and the school of all modern thought, which recognizes in all prophets a harmony, in all scriptures a unity, and through all dispensations a continuity, which abjures all that separates and divides, and always magnifies humanity and peace, which seeks truth in freedom, justice in love, and individual discipline in social duty, and which shall make of all persons one beloved community. Unto this church, and unto all its members, known and unknown throughout the world, we pledge the allegiance of our hands and of our hearts. Now, we greet each other on Sundays as part of our practice, part of our liturgy. We turn to our neighbors, whether they are strangers or old friends, and we welcome them to our shared space. It's our way of saying our spiritual path is communal, relational, and that we are in this together. Not just friendly, it's how we ground ourselves in this space with each other. I invite you now to please greet your neighbors. All right. It's very exciting to see friends I know. Without a fellowship hour, it's hard to find the right time to check in. Greet your neighbor might not be the time. We're doing our best. Thank you. I picked up the chime. Is that all right? Okay. Now comes the time in our service to reflect on the moment. And I don't know about you, but the world has got me feeling pretty scared these days. I've noticed as I try to find what to bring into this reflection on the moment from the world, it all seems too scary to say out loud. So I will be more specific during the sermon. But for now, my hope is as we reflect on the moment, we remember the adage, it is always darkest before dawn. Please repeat after me. When I pour out my spirit on all humankind, when I pour out my spirit on all humankind, your people will see visions. Your people will see visions. Your old will dream dreams. Your old will dream dreams. Your young will prophesy.
your young will prophesy.
This is a time during our service when we reflect, pray, meditate on the world. I invite you in that spirit in this moment. We are a people of faith who believe in beloved community. We believe in love, and yet it can be hard some days to see beyond the suffering. There is much sorrow in the world, fear and anger, a seemingly endless circle of violence. Our hearts ache. Let us center love, sending it out to everyone seeking peace, safety, justice all across this city, this country, and the world. To every living being suffering from drought, from fire, from floods, from want, from the loss of home and family, let us hold them all in our thoughts and in our hearts. Let us remember all those we have lost, but let us also remember the joy and the beauty of the world. Let us remember our dreams for a better world. Let us hold ourselves and each other through difficult times. Let us not forget who we are. Let us lift up our hearts and do the hard work of blessing this world. Amen, and blessed be. This is the time in our service when usually Reverend Jude or Brother Zachary shares a wisdom story, but because they've invited me into this space, I will be sharing my version of a wisdom story today, working with a theme that Brother Zachary is going to talk about in his sermon. When I was very young, I was sometimes told that I had an overactive imagination, that I had my head in the clouds, that I was a daydreamer. I grew up in a house filled with books, and I loved hearing and reading stories. I sometimes made up my own, dreaming myself into the place of the boy heroes in the books that I read, because there were no books with girl heroes back then. I dreamed of flying horses and of trees that could speak. Back then, my family lived by a lake surrounded by trees filled with birds under a sky full of rain. These were not the kind of trees you see in this city or in a park. These trees were massive. They were pines and firs and cedar, and these woods were dark. These woods were a place where dreams could truly be born and thrive. I loved playing in the cool shadows under the trees, listening to the rain fall and fall. Sometimes the world outside the trees seemed too full of chores and homework and arguments. So whenever I could, I'd go off to the trees and play, my head filled with dreams and with stories. Then there came a time that I was told the woods were no longer safe. I had to play in the yard, in the house, with other kids. But I missed the trees. As I grew older, I learned to not tell people about my dreams or the stories I sometimes made up. I learned to dream in private. I was told to hide my stories. There are people who think that stories and dreams are only for children. There are people who think there is such a thing as too much imagination. For too long, I listened to these people until I discovered others who love to dream, who love to read and write and tell stories. It was like a magical door opened into another world. I stepped through that door, and I have seldom looked back on a world without dreams, a world without stories, a world without imagination. For imagination allows us to see beauty in the world and hope for a better future. Imagination and dreams are intertwined and essential for our survival. One of my favorite poets once wrote these lines: "Hold fast to dreams, for if dreams die, life is a broken-winged bird that cannot fly." Me, I prefer to fly. Thank you. Now, if you will stand or sit or whatever you're able to do and join us in singing the hymn Hush. It's number 1040 in the Teal hymnal.
Somebody's calling my name.
So, although we're in August and we're not going to pass the basket, there are some announcements. There is UUA Common Read, where we are reading an Indigenous Peoples History of the United States for young people, and we'll be meeting, one meeting only, on Wednesday the 14th at 5 p.m. on Zoom. If you have questions, Reverend Jude is managing that, and you can email him. UU Wellspring's new program, Love at the Center, UU Values and Covenants, provides a core foundation for spiritual deepening. It's a small group 11-session program that provides an in-depth exploration for our shared faith within the context of our personal identities and experiences, diverse communities, and relationship with the world. Each session requires less than 20 minutes of prep time, and meetings this year will be on the second and fourth Tuesdays at 11. This begins on September 10th, and again, RSVP to Reverend Jude. Now, a new announcement. Are you a UU in the Metro New York region interested in serving your fellow UUs through engagement with the Christian tradition? If so, you're invited to an online exploratory organizational meeting with the Reverend Jake Morrill, who is the executive director of the UU Christian Fellowship. The meeting will take place on Wednesday, August 21st from 7 to 8:30. To register, RSVP on our church website. And again, we're not going to pass a basket, but we'll sit together to listen to something beautiful and center ourselves in gratitude for this abundant earth.
Thank you, musicians, for letting me play with you, mostly. Good afternoon. Thank you. Well done. We all learn at our own pace. I love to dream. but I didn't always. There were times in my life that I found it almost impossible. There were times in my life I found I couldn't even take a break or rest for a moment. And in those times, it was impossible for me to dream. Do you know what I'm talking about? Maybe you've had some of those experiences yourself. Those times were scary because, for me, dreaming is part of who I am. I think dreaming is part of what makes people who we are. Do you love to dream? I heard a few yeses. What are your favorite things to dream about? And feel free to tell me right now. What are your favorite things to dream about? Flying. Woo! That's great. What else? Family, gatherings. Yes? Having fun days on Christmas Day. I love that. I heard someone say peanuts. I don't know if I made that up, but that's an interesting dream. Yes. Dream of being a hero. I love it. Thank you for sharing your dreams with me. Don't ever stop sharing your dreams with people when they ask for it. Don't be afraid to say your dreams out loud. A dream can always be shared, and it can never be stolen. It can be broken, but it can't be erased. I don't think we will ever actually come to the exact same dreams. My dreams will always look special to me, and your dreams will always look special to you. Now, at this point, while I was practicing and rehearsing my message, I was sharing it with my children, and one child interrupted me. "Wait a minute," she said. "Are you talking about the dreams you have at night? Or are you talking about the, like, what you want to be when you grow up kind of dreams?" Important question. And I guess I suppose I mean both. We use the word to mean two different things, the things that happen to us at night and the things that we do on purpose during the day. And anyway, as far as our brains are concerned, spoiler alert, there's not really that much of a difference. Both our subconscious hallucinations and our innermost wishes and hopes are connected to our selfhood, our humanity. Both are windows into what I would call our inner world. Part of what makes dreams so difficult is that they have a frustrating quality that makes them hard to study. Dreams are subjective. That means they're based on you as an individual, influenced by the person who is doing the dreaming. I can't look into your mind and see what you see. Your dreams will always be yours. And believe it or not, that is where it starts to get really complicated. See, some people say they don't actually have any dreams, the unconscious kind or the lived experienced kind. Some people say, maybe I do dream, but then never remember it. Still others have a hard time dreaming in the daytime. Imagination can be tricky for some folks. Depression and anxiety both affect the brain in such a way that it makes it difficult to conceptualize the future at all, to believe in any future at all. I've spoken with folks who describe this dream-like existence with anxiety or depression like being trapped inside your own body with the windows closed. Do you know what I'm talking about? Furthermore, there is a word called aphantasia. The word means, the word describes how it is hard for some people to imagine things, to see pictures in their mind. It's not common, but people with aphantasia have a hard time thinking in pictures at all, let alone dreaming when they are not asleep. But aside from these rare situations, whether we think we do or not, dreaming is very much a basic human activity. It can be thwarted and undermined by various factors. It's something that we do reflexively without thinking about it. I don't know about you, but sometimes, especially days like today, when the times are what they are, dreaming feels harder than it was before. Now, I don't know medically why it is harder sometimes to dream than others. But friends, I speak with my experience of our community when I say, I think we aren't so good at dreaming anymore. We've lost some of our capacity for the big dreams. Now hold on, Brother Zachary, you might say. I had a nice little dream last night. I like thinking about the future, and I like putting big ideas out there. I think you are making wild accusations about us. Maybe I'm not talking about you individually, but I suspect maybe I am. I suspect all of us know our dreams are maybe not as big or as convincing as they could be. Our dreams are still dependent on the world that we're living in. After all, how do we get to these dreams? Where do our dreams come from? Do they just spring out of our inner reality? No. Our dreams are based on the world that we live in. They're based on the reality that we experience. Now, this might be important for us to consider the difference between what a dream is and what a dream isn't. Dreams are not reality. This is reality. If you need a reminder, this is real. If you need to pinch yourself, we're not dreaming right now. Real reality is happening to us right now. Reality is objective. We can talk about the world just fine. It's not so easy for us to talk about our inner worlds. This subjective quality of our inner world gets in the way. Are you with me? I'm talking about different worlds now. I'm talking about the real world and the inner world. Sometimes it gets confusing. I start talking about the inner world and people think I'm making things up or I'm putting my finger on something that can't be understood. But stay with me. Is it so hard to think about your dreams and your hopes as an actual world inside of you? It might not be this real world out here, but our dreams and our hopes have an internal coherence of their own, don't they? Our dreams, whether we remember them or not, whether we honor them or not, say something important about who we are, about where we come from, and about what is important to us. Dreams belong to us. Understanding this interior life is very important. This interior life is where we find meaning and belonging in the real world. Does that make sense too? The inner world is where we find meaning in the outer world. It's tough, you gotta stay with me, I know it's complicated. This interior life was very important to one of my mentors, St. Augustine. It's hard to imagine my mentor being dying in the 3rd century, but he is very much a mentor of mine. St. Augustine is deeply connected to me, and not just in his written works. Augustine thought and wrote about what a person is. Augustine was deeply concerned with this subjective inner world that belongs to the individual. Augustine once mused, "People walk around, people go abroad and wonder at the heights of mountains, the huge waves of the sea, the long courses of rivers, the vast compass of the ocean, the circular motions of the stars, and they pass by themselves without wondering." Elsewhere, Augustine asks, "Do you believe that there exists inside of people a deep, so profound as to be hidden even to the person in whom it exists?" It's a rhetorical question, of course, but in trying to answer it, Augustine seems convinced that yes, there is a depth inside of people that truly exists inside of all of us, hidden even to those who possess it. That's the inner world that I'm trying to discuss. By the way, friends, what did St. Augustine look like? Any ideas? He had a beard. That's a good guess. I'm serious, and I mean this in a specific way. what does the guy look like when you picture him, St. Augustine? Seriously, let's think about it. And we'll use the racialized language of our current time. Was St. Augustine white? Yeah? Middle Eastern? Seriously, what picture comes up? You don't have to be right or wrong. What do you think? Yeah? Yeah? Probably? All right. Well, it's important because St. Augustine was black, and very black at that. Augustine's African identity was often, and through history is often, muted in favor of describing this man as a North African citizen of the Roman Empire, with distinct emphasis on North and Empire. Now, Tia Noel Pratt said it best in her piece from the U.S. Catholic when she says that emphasizing that St. Augustine was North African allows him to be coded as white. At the very least, it allows for de-emphasizing his Amazigh origins, the word for the black folk from North Africa. Pratt's contextualization for me lays bare what's at stake in the recoloring of Augustine. For generations, Africa was continually robbed of its greatest treasures, its people, through the horrors of the transatlantic slave trade, while the continent's natural resources were confiscated or decimated by natural powers, colonial powers. Yet through all of that time and into the present day, the church and scholars of theology, philosophy, and literature alike have considered the works of Augustine, an African man, as some of the greatest writings ever produced by Western culture. How's that for robbing Africa of one of its greatest treasures? We know more about race than we'd like to admit when it comes to these ancient church fathers. St. Augustine himself wrote of a process, you know how we processed inside, the procession of several bishops. Augustine described a procession of bishops, citing Cyprian, the African, Hilarius, the Gaul, Ambrose, the Italian, and Gregory, the Greek. Now, when you hear Augustine give that list, you might be thinking that was the place that all of these bishops were from, but it's not. Those were racialized terms to describe, that Augustine was using to describe what people looked like. This ancient discipline is called phrenology, if you've heard of it. It was a racist tool by which people would try to understand the meaning of people's phenotype differences. The first name on the list that Augustine gives is Cyprian. Maybe you've heard of him, maybe you haven't. But you probably didn't know that Cyprian was a black African Catholic bishop who led the African churches in the 3rd century through intense persecution and slaughter at the hands of Rome. You probably didn't know that because Cyprian is called a North African citizen of the Roman Empire. You might also let's see, okay, maybe that's because Cyprian is described as North African. Let me find my place here. In this way, Cyprian was also a leader of black Christianity that is also coded as white. I'm also talking about other individuals, and I'm just going to skip ahead because I don't think you need me to go through the list of every individual, of every black saint and black person in the Bible that is coded as white through history. This brings me to my specific point, which is that we live in the real world, and this real world is shared. We didn't create it, we inherited it. It is our only world, and it has been warped and twisted into a scary, violent place. White supremacy was a dream that caught fire through colonial Europe, and that dream created entire disciplines that still exist today. That dream created the slave trade, and it still forms the basis of our global capitalist economy. Our dreams are circumscribed by the world we live in, and that world is broken, friends. The brutality of capitalism, racism, and militarism stole liberty from our dreams. I'm going to say that again. Capitalism, racism, and militarism stole our liberty from our dreams. If you look around this world and you listen to the stories we tell about it, I think you would have good reason to lose hope. You may even have good reason to struggle with dreaming, because our dreams are created by a warped and twisted world. If you are a young person trying to make a way and all you see are headwinds and difficulties, problems and obstacles with no end in sight, you may not even want to try. If you're watching the news and you find yourself on edge, tense, consumed by non-specific feelings of doom or dread, raise your hand if you know what I'm talking about, then you are not alone. You are not wrong to feel scared and alone when the stories we have inherited are terrifying. The fear is real, and isolation is real. We live in the real world. It's the only one we have, and yet it is not the only world we have, right? I started by talking about several worlds, the real world and the inner world, if you're following me, inner world. The inner world contains a whole world, and we hold an interior world all our own. We have in ourselves the capacity to remake our inner world, and in so doing, to remake our outer world. We do that by sharing our dreams. I want to lift the importance of sharing our dreams because we owe it to each other to dream big and to dream together. We owe it to our future generations to dream out loud, to remake the world in the images that we see in our mind for the sake of our future. I stand on the shoulders of a true giant of homiletics, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., when I say that I have a dream now of a beloved community where our children and elders dance and paint and sing and bang drums and talk about fears and hopes and dreams, where we all know that we're welcome and we all belong. But that is not the only dream, and it looks different to me than it does to you. And you owe it to me and to each other to share your dreams out loud. After all, they dreamed this world into existence. You know who I'm talking about when I say they? That's the they who built the transatlantic slave trade and crafted this world with their dreams. This world that dehumanizes everybody, not just non-white bodies, but white bodies as well. Here in the real world, all of us lose out for the cost of someone else's dreams. It is for this reason, church, that we need to dream new dreams, and we share those dreams with one another, one at a time. The only prerequisite to dreaming is rest. Dreaming can't be taught. Dreaming is only experienced. And you know, this world will have you believing that you have no space to rest. There's no time for resting. There is no escape, and there is definitely no other inner world for you to escape to. This world will have you believing that there is nowhere to go that is not part of the machine. I know in my body what it feels like to believe that story, to believe that there is nowhere to rest, and to believe there is nowhere to go to escape. I know what it feels like, friends, to be consumed by the hopelessness, to feel like there is nowhere to go and nothing coming to us. But that is not the truth of our world. The truth of our world is that the way forward is not in learning how to dream better and bigger, but instead in learning how to rest. For in our rest, dreams multiply. Dreams are reflexive, natural actions. Now let me tell you, learning to rest is not an easy lesson, and it's one I'm still learning. Rest is not filling your calendar with social engagements instead of work functions. That's not really rest. Rest is not sitting at home and spiraling through patterns of anxiety until you're too tired to keep sitting there and fall back to sleep. That's not really rest. Raise your hand if you know what I'm talking about. Rest is not the same as forcing yourself to have fun or to relax so you can check it off your self-care to-do list. Raise your hand if you've ever done that. That is not what I mean. Rest is listening to yourself, listening to your body, listening to your needs. And I promise for all of you, no matter how old you are and no matter how hard you've got it, the dreams will come. It's not wrong to feel in your body broken and hurting. It's not wrong to need help or healing. The world does not make it easy to dream. Dreaming is especially hard in poverty. Dreaming is especially hard with young children. Dreaming is especially hard when you have to deal with your own chronic pain. It's even more difficult to deal with when you are helping others through their chronic pain. Dreaming isn't easy, no matter your color and no matter your struggle, but dreaming is essential. Rest is the first step, friends. Rest, and the dreams will come. It's through rest that we find our dreams, and through dreams that we find our story. Through dreams, we find ourselves. Through dreams, we find our purpose, our meaning, our destiny. Afrofuturists dream ourselves into the future because the future others dreamed for us didn't include us. So we had to dream for ourselves, our own futures, and share those dreams with the world. If you choose to share your dreams with the world, you can change the world. But dream either way. Dream if you share it, and dream if you don't. Because your inner world is yours, and it is there to protect you from the scary world outside. This real world exists, and our inner world is there to keep us safe. As I finish, I want to say, if you hear yourself in these words, if you have struggled to dream, if you feel the difficulty in holding on to the big dreams, I want you to forgive yourself for that difficulty. It's not your fault. We all struggle to dream sometimes. And if you need me to say it instead, I've got my stole on today, and so you know I can say, I forgive you for forgetting how to dream. I forgive you for losing track of the dreams in the midst of pain and suffering. I forgive you for believing the stories they made up about us. Let me tell you, I believed them too for a long time. Church, I'm still learning things I thought I already knew. But it's never too late to turn back. It's never too late to get your dreams back, church. The first step, though, is rest. The quote we started our service today is the quote I will end with. It's one thing when black people aren't discussed in world history, and we just found out that that happens quite a lot. Fortunately, teams of dedicated historians and cultured advocates have chipped away at the propaganda, often functioning as history, for the world's students to eradicate that glaring error. But when, even in the imaginary future, a space where the mind can stretch beyond the Milky Way to envision routine space travel, cuddly space animals, talking apes and time machines, people can't fathom a person of non-Euro descent 100 years into the future, a cosmic foot has to be put down. Friends, rest is that cosmic foot. Education is that cosmic foot. And maybe those are the two cosmic feet, rest and education. Dream sharing is part of that cosmic walk. Rest, church, and dream yourselves into the future, because through actual rest, we find the space to be ourselves, to imagine ourselves, our future, into existence. Amen. Now comes the time in our service for a pastoral prayer and candle lighting. Choir, I think I'm going to ask for your help. You've been sitting there so kindly, and I need your help in singing a song. I need your help in singing a song that I'm going to teach, and I would like for you to come and join our congregation if you don't mind. Leave your books right there behind you, and I would love for you to stand up and come with me. Come and find a spot in here with our group to sing. Come and find some seats. Yes, yes, yes. This is impromptu. They didn't know I was doing this. So I'm making a little bit of space for the Spirit. Our words were, "When I pour out my Spirit on all humankind, when I pour out my Spirit on all humankind. Your people shall prophesy. Your people shall prophesy. Your old will dream dreams. Your old will dream dreams. Your young will see visions. Please repeat after me. When I pour out my Spirit on all humankind, when I pour out my Spirit on all humankind, your people shall prophesy, your people shall prophesy, your people shall prophesy, your people shall prophesy, your people shall prophesy. Perfect, you're really good at this. Your old will dream dreams, 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 your perfect. Your young will see visions, 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 your young will see visions. Now, I'm going to need you all to trust me. This goes together. So, be patient. If I don't call you, wait one moment, and we will come right back to it. All right? When I pour out my Spirit on all humankind, when I pour out my Spirit on all humankind, when I pour out my Spirit on all humankind, when I pour out my Spirit on all humankind. Keep it going. My Spirit on all humankind. Your people shall prophesy, your people shall prophesy, your people shall prophesy, your people shall prophesy. Your old will dream dreams, your old will dream dreams, your old will dream dreams, your old will dream. Your young will see visions, your young will see visions, your young will see visions, your young will see visions. When I pour out my Spirit on all humankind, when I pour out my Spirit on all humankind, your people shall prophesy, your people shall prophesy, your people shall prophesy, your people shall prophesy, your old shall dream dreams, your old will dream dreams, your old will dream dreams, your old will dream dreams, your young will see visions, 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 your old will dream dreams, your old will dream dreams, your old will dream. Your people shall prophesy, your people shall prophesy, your people shall prophesy, your people. When I pour out my Spirit on all humankind, when I pour out my Spirit on all humankind, when I pour out my Spirit on all humankind, when I pour out my Spirit on all humankind, when I pour out my Spirit on all humankind, when I pour out my Spirit on all humankind. Amen. Now comes the time for our pastoral prayer. We will light a candle. Thank you, choir. Thank you. We will light a candle to symbolize the beauty and majesty in this life that we experience, to say, I see holiness here, I see holiness in myself, I see holiness in one another. I will light the first candle, and you are invited to rise and follow me and Yvonne as we light our candles. Thank you. Okay. Good job. Thank you. Good job. In our chalice extinguishing found in your bulletin. Knowing how quickly the flame of truth may be extinguished, how easily the chalice of fellowship broken, let us be vigilant in faith, keep peace in our hearts, and make care for one another the watchword of our lives together. So our light goes out everywhere into the world. Our light goes out everywhere, healing and hope are needed. Let us go in peace to love and serve this world and one another. Amen.
We are Gather around, everybody. Quick things. Some info for